Mr. van der Walt, thanks very much for your time this morning. 1% of all victims, this is an incredibly shocking statistic.
Yeah, absolutely. Human trafficking is a hidden, it's a subversive crime. We do have some statistics available in South Africa, but the statistics does not paint the full picture. It's far more prevalent, I would argue, systemic in South Africa.
And in terms of the root causes for this incredibly low number, it's not just about the victims being rescued, it's around capacity, it's around the justice system, we're talking forensic here. These are all departments in which we are seriously lacking as a country.
Absolutely. South Africa is currently ranked on the Tier 2 watch list for the second consecutive year. And there's a number of issues that's raised here. Lack of identification by frontline law enforcement officials. Sadly, corruption is a problem. In fact, corruption is a far more stronger predictor of human trafficking than any other poverty-related causes. And then something that I feel very strongly about is the issue of the demand for cheap labor and commercial sex. We're not addressing that. You know, we have online adult websites being advertised on our lampposts, many of them directly implicated in court cases in which I've testified where victims of trafficking has been advertised. So we need to critically reflect on how we all, directly and indirectly, are complicit in what's happening in the country at the moment.
So not only is this statistic quite shocking, this 1% of human trafficking victims being rescued, but of that 1%, how many successful prosecutions are we seeing?
It pales, well, our successes really, Michelle, pales in comparison to the guesstimated scope, nature and extent of the problem. I mean, the problem in itself is that these statistics are not even readily available. I waited for a full year just to get statistics between 2015, the 9th of August, and 2017, the 12th of December, during which time 2,132 cases was reported on the SAPS CAS system. And then in that period, I could a rough guess, I've testified in about 6 cases, but we've had about 10 convictions, what I can recall offhand over the last 2 to 3 years.
Mr. van der Walt, we're in a country where we've got an incredibly low rates of employment. You know, people are lured into all kinds of false promises all the time. What can you give as advice to people when they are approached with opportunities and you know, mixed with the desperation of unemployment and of poverty? What do we do?
Yeah, well, Michelle, sadly, we hear scripted and almost condescending responses from politicians to this very question almost on a daily basis. Just to respond to that question, I would say no, the human trafficking resource line number 0800 222 777. And if something intuitively doesn't make sense, well, you need to interrogate it. You know, get a group of people around you that you trust, that has got your best interest at heart, and run these opportunities past them. But I would also augment that question by asking, what can we as men do to create an environment in South Africa where women can live far more flourishing, safe and dignified lives? And we need to ask ourselves, really pull up our socks and really pull up our pants as well, and ask, you know, how are we complicit? Because we are complicit, you know, in many ways. And we cannot allow things like pornography and commercial sex to be advertised without understanding what fuels this market and nitpicking and cherry-picking research, because it's fundamentally often driven by obscure agendas and ideologies, and that has an impact on the crime of human trafficking and sexual exploitation.
Well, thanks very much for your insights. Marcel van der Walt is a researcher at UNISA's Department of Police Practice.